Hey everyone, it's the 4-Gun Guy, and this is another in my practice series. This one's called the fence, and there's a couple of different ways you can shoot this. In fact, there's a few different ways you can shoot this, and I wanted to go over this prop with you today. So if you're ready to go, let's get to it. Let's go over how they usually have this in the stage brief. It's generally 10 shots. It might be you choose the position that you want to shoot from, and it's 2 shots from each window, so to speak. So it's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. They could have you vary by height, and you could actually end up shooting off of this gate, which is not stable at all, as you can see. And sometimes we just shoot off this gate. The point here is you've got to figure out how you want to use the prop to your advantage and what bags or other equipment you might want to use on this stage. So let's take a look at that next. Okay, well, I have an empty magazine in here. We're just going to dry fire when we go over these options here. But look, option number 1 is the simplest of all, right? It's a bag. And if you've watched some of my other stage videos, sometimes this is the best thing to use. Then I could use the right side of all these posts, like I like to do, and I could bring my rifle in. It's already balanced, remember. I can use my hand like I do, put it on the post, come down onto the rifle, and here I am, pretty stable on target. I could also, now this is that standing position that I really like. Remember, I like my tripod position here because it really does give me a stable platform. I'm not going to run the trigger cam just yet, but we will later. So I could do that. Or if I would now talk about the advantage of this movement, you have 2 minutes, 2 shots each. This is a pretty wide prop here, so you really want to make sure that you're going to have time to get all these shots off. So if you were using one bag, it might be best to stay standing and use the tripod. If you like to kneel and you find that that's your best position, then you could do this. Come down. You could either get build your tripod kneeling like I like to do here. I'm on it. It's dancing a little still, right? Because you're not on a smooth, flat prop, right? You're on this bar, and even though I've got my bag the way I like it there, it still kind of gives me some movement. So, with that said, you could use just a bag. Let's look at another way you could do this. Well, yep, the most stable option here is going to be to use a tripod. Now, I'm getting a lot of comments about PRS. PRS rules state that you have to deploy the tripod on the clock. If your match abides by those rules, then you're going to have to deploy that thing on the clock. It could eat up a lot of time. If you're shooting a match that's not PRS, that you don't have to deploy on the clock, then this is a good option, right? Because now I can come in here, set my rifle. Doesn't really matter where I set it here, right? I can come down on my tripod. We've talked about this. I have a video on shooting with a tripod. I can come down on it, and this is like so stable. I mean, I'm just really, I am just on the target. And then if I was going to shoot this with a tripod, I'd shoot right to left, because then I can just drag my tripod with me, and it's not collapsing as I go. Now I also have the, I think it's the MDT tripod stabilizer that goes up here, and that's just awesome. I'll put a link to it up there somewhere. But if I was going to do this, then that's what I might do. You could, if you have to deploy on the clock, right? Let's say that you had to deploy on the clock, but you still wanted to use the tripod. You know, I don't know. I guess you could come to this lower level and you could already have the tripod kind of collapsed until it's just this one, and then you could turn it over, it'll fall out. You could just tighten these three, and then you'd be good to go on that lower level, maybe even the second level. There's another option that I don't have, but some guys are using it now, and it's a tripod with a bag. So let's kind of look at that option. This could be option 3 or 4. And I've seen some guys doing this. Now, there are special plates that you can buy that adjust. So you could adjust the plate up and down very easily. I don't have one of those because, quite frankly, I just don't use this method, but I wanted to show it to you anyway. In simple terms, it's you're trying to find the right height along the prop for your tripod. And again, if you have to deploy the tripod on the clock, then you could kind of be, you know, screwed in doing this position. But if you can, then basically what you're doing is you've got everything in your hand, you drop it, you come down on the rifle, and now I'm just adjusting the bag here with my hand, lifting and lowering, and I've got to tell you, this is very stable, very stable. I'd say this is actually more stable than using the tripod. But again, there's a lot to think about. There's a lot to take with you. Now, in this case, I would have a bungee cord that just attaches this bag to the tripod, so I'm not lugging two things. But when in movement, you know, this isn't bad, right? I just bring it over here. Now I've got my bag here. Now I could come right here, and of course I found a hole there that the leg went into, but here we go. And I've got the wrong bag here, guys. I really do. I should have a thicker bag than this flat one, but you get the idea, right? Then I'd come down on it and like that. And even using my hand here, it's still very stable. This is extremely stable. But number one, can you do it in the match? Does this have to deploy on the clock? So forth, so forth, so forth. If you're moving different levels, this would still work, right? I could use this setup for this top level. I could then use the tripod leg, as I would do with the tripod anyway, for this level and even the bottom level. So these are the options to shoot this. Well, one other thing I want to talk to you about is this gate. So we shut off the fence, or we're shooting off the fence, and those are all stable. They're all set, right? This gate isn't. This gate, number one, rocks back and forth. And I'm going to say this at the end, repeat it, but for this you may want to load into it, or you may want to just free recoil it. So in other words, I'm still going to be holding things steady. I'm still going to make sure I'm on my target, but I'm not I can promise you I'm not putting any pressure on this rifle other than up here stabilizing it. That's it. And because I'm here with the fence, that pressure is coming down, straight down into this support rail. So I'm not back here, I'm not out here, I'm right here making sure all the support comes down to the rail that's supporting the rifle. And that way, I'm not pivoting at all, guys. I'm pretty straight on this thing. Okay? Now, one thing about this gate, I don't know if you're noticing this, but the gap here is taller than the gap down there. So, just be careful of that, right? Be careful of the bag you're going to choose, for example, to rest this rifle on. I'm using this tater tot, and as you get down, I've seen guys do this. They get down to here, they had a big old thick bag that they were using up there, and when they go to put that rifle in there, boom, they're hitting it. Now, you're off balance. You don't have a balanced rifle. It's not balanced. I can't say this enough. So just make sure that if the bag you're going to use, it will fit in this section. Now remember, I think I said this on one of my other videos, I can't remember which one it was, but this is a great opportunity to use this gap as the wedge. Use your hand as the wedge in this gap. And now when I come down on this thing, I mean, holy Moses, this thing is like, really steady. So another thing to consider, right? Now, if I was coming down to this lowest one, I don't know. Let's see. Is this gonna work? I may have to really kind of punch that down. And then the other thing is you can bring your rifle in sideways. See what I just did there? I brought it in sideways. And maybe I have to load it a little bit. And yeah, that puts a little pressure on the rifle, on the scope, but it's nothing that's gonna hurt it. And now I'm down on it. I'm still on it. This is an awkward position. This could be something that you get your big bag, shoot kind of prone here, but I wouldn't even mess with that. This was fine for me. So just remember, if you're gonna shoot off something like this that has these different height gaps in it, take that into consideration. I'm gonna shoot a target, it's about 515, and I think I've got 6 shots. So let's just go 3, 3, and 3, and we'll come off the top. And it'll kind of show you how you gotta work with these indentations here as well. So let's see, the clock goes off, come here, set the rifle. Remember, I'm aiming at the target. I haven't even gotten on the rifle yet, but I'm on the target, coming down on it. And now you can see I'm pretty much just right on the target, right? There's a little left to right. Impact. Impact. Come over here, move the rifle first, grab the tripod. Make sure there's not a rabbit hole or something that you're gonna put it in. Come down on it. Where am I? Right there, lost it a little bit, but I'm down on it now. Impact. That was a lucky shot. Impact. Trying to hold that trigger back after the shot so I don't jerk it. And now we're right here. You're probably out of the shot, but that's okay. Let's come down on it. You can see I'm on it. That was off to the left. Impact. So you can see I held center on that one. Mag is out, bolt is back. I held center on that one and I missed it. Had a brain fart there. But, you know, this is a good way to shoot this stage. As I said, it's very stable. Again, if you have to deploy this on the clock, then you're most likely going to use something like that wee bad tater tot that I have, which is a big bag. And then you're going to place this up against the post and shoot it that way. As a matter of fact, let's do that. Let's do just 4 shots with the bag only, and let's see how we do. Okay, now I have my wee bad tater tot. Some guys like this placed like this. I like it upside down, so it gives me that flat surface. But we'll see. Let's see how this all works out. I'm gonna do 2, 1, 1, I think. Trigger cam is on. Gun buzzer goes off. I'll place the bag. There it is. Bring my rifle in. I'm putting that scope right up against that post. Right up against that post. Pretty stable. That was off to the left, more wind now. Impact. Bring that here. Gotta watch this rabbit hole or whatever that is there. It's pretty deep, pretty big. Down on it. I'm on the target. Impact. I don't think, and let's see what this looks like in the trigger cam, but I have a feeling this is not as stable, right, as that tripod. But if this is all you can do, impact, and that's all you can do. So there's 4. My mag is out, the bolt's back. Now, I'll tell you one thing I forgot to do. I actually forgot to put my bipod on the front here, which I like to do when I'm running this bag because, see, I'm a little back heavy, so I wasn't perfectly balanced here. So those are the two basic ways you can shoot this. If you get to this fence, it's basically the same thing. With the fence, you might find yourself either pushing into that fence to stabilize or backing off and letting this rifle kind of, you know, a free recoil off the fence. That works there as well. But hey, I just wanted to show you this one. Again, it's one of these stages that looks simple, but it can be extremely tricky. And if you can choose your height with all the movement you have to do, I would stay high, because on your knees or in kneeling position, you're kneeling, you're either gonna, you know, kneel your way over here, which I've done before, or you're getting up, getting down, getting up, getting down, and you're gonna be out of breath by the time you get to that third shot. Your heart's racing, you can see it, your heartbeat affecting the rifle. It's unbelievable how it happens. So just think about that. What's gonna be the fastest, easiest, smoothest transition and place to shoot off of? Well, hey, I hope you enjoyed this one, guys. And until next time, shoot straight.